I want to bring in Kevin Freeman. He's been on our program several times. I think he is wildly credible. He's was on the episode of For the Record of Unrestricted Warfare, which he explained the impending threat of a terrorist attack on the United States, not by an act of violence, but a cyber-economic attack. It happened in 2008, he believes. I do as well. The U.S. is currently doing absolutely nothing, and we're a sitting duck for our enemies. Watch For the Record on demand, and make sure you watch the new season of For the Record, premiering February 12th at 8 p.m. Kevin is also the author of a new book called Game Plan: How to Protect Yourself from the Coming Cyber Economic Attack. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you.
I will tell you that we are sitting here talking about the polar vortex, and I think there is a vortex on the economy that no one is really talking about. Between what happened with the new head of the Fed yesterday, more printing that will absolutely be a part of the plan, the house of cards that is the United States, and you say cyber terrorism.
Right. In fact, we've spent, I don't know how many billions of dollars fighting this fake global warming issue, and we've done virtually nothing, even though General Alexander of the NSA was on 60 Minutes 3 weeks ago, and he said, just in an off-the-cuff remark, he said, several foreign nations have the capacity to bring down our economy. And as I showed in my previous book, Secret Weapon, they have the motive, the means, and the opportunity. Forbes said, if we caught on to what he said, the stock market should fall sharply on Monday. From December 15th to the end of the year, it rose 5%.
What's going on? I think this is put all of the money. It's like a gaming system where they're just putting everybody's money on the table and then wiping it off, putting more money on the table and wiping it off. I mean, we are being bled dry.
The IMF just put out a report that said the only way that Western nations can get out of debt is to confiscate wealth.
Okay, explain this. I sent this to my wife just the other day when it came out, and I said, honey, it's exactly what I've been talking about. And people have a hard time accepting this. This is what happened in Greece, and now the IMF is saying it's coming all throughout the West. Explain it.
Essentially, when the government gets so deeply in debt as we are now, and no one will buy our debt, and I just saw Puerto Rico has something like $50 billion of debt, $50,000 for every man, woman, and child in Puerto Rico. That was in Forbes this week. When we get that deeply in debt, the government's only opportunity, they can't tax all of it, so what they do is they show up and they confiscate a portion of it. You have a savings account and you've got $500,000. They say the bank has failed and anything over $250,000 is going to have to be taken.
Right.
And they just take it.
And they're saying that, they become the good guy by saying, it's the FDIC, we only promised 250.
That's right. We're saving the bank.
Right. But we're saving the bank, and they're taking it, and they actually went in and just seized all of the money in Greece. People don't think that it could happen here. What are the signs that we should be looking? Do you think this is coming? Like imminent?
There's no doubt it's coming. If you go back in history, Vladimir Putin talked about the breaking the dollar, for example, and his Panarin, his Russian studies professor who was with him in the KGB, said, you know, the dollar is going to disappear.
Is this the same guy who said we'd break up into 5 separate?
Yes, same guy.
He's a spooky dude.
Yeah, and I think it's planned. China has said we have to de-Americanize the world.
Yeah.
And so all the nations have lined up against us. I think they're just waiting for when it's beneficial to them, number one, and number two, when it could fly under the radar so we don't launch nuclear missiles in response.
Who is the most likely culprit?
Well, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. You know, some of these nations don't have the economic wherewithal to bring us down economically, but they could use means like cyber means.
If we go down,
Syria.
If we go down, doesn't the rest of the world go down?
Not necessarily. If you call for a de-Americanized world, you start putting in place plans to remove your dependence on the United States. And we're so arrogant to believe that we will always be important.
We you know what? All of the safeguards that people told me when I said this in 2006, everybody said, no, China needs us, and they'll never stop buying our bonds because they need us to consume. It just came out this year, they don't need us to consume anymore. We have lost that position as the world's consumer. They have to keep buying our bonds. They haven't bought our bonds. They're not buying them. The Fed is buying them. So all of the lies that all of the things that they said, because of these things, this is not possible. The rest of the world needs us. All of those conditions have failed now.
Yes, and they were true at one point. They're not true today.
True now.
So what are the Chinese buying? They're buying gold, as are the Russians.
Okay, so when we come back, because I'm actually thrilled that finally somebody comes on the show and doesn't just have the problem, says, and here's a solution for you. We'll go there next. On tomorrow's radio program, I'm going to be telling you, if you remember, we talked about the word rehypothecation, and when you heard that word being used, you'd know there's real trouble. And then we told you a story about Germany demanding their gold back, and the Fed said, hey, we're going to give you a portion of the gold back. They just returned it over the holiday. Tomorrow you'll hear how it was returned. It makes no sense whatsoever, and I will explain it, what I think it means, on tomorrow's broadcast. Okay, you not only set up a really good case that people have the motive and the means to be able to take us down economically.
And the opportunity.
I think we are being sabotaged by 100 different people that want to take us down in every way, from global warming to the Fed, printing us out of or into oblivion. But you lay out some ways to actually try to lessen the blow on you. Explain. Give me some of them.
Well, I put a list, and I've got it starting on page 220 of the book. Step one is we need to realize we're in a global war. And it's an economic war. Mm-hmm. We knew we were in a Cold War, and we responded appropriately. We act as if all our enemies, what we see as a marketplace, our enemies are seeing as a battle space. Mm-hmm. So we have to recognize the global war is underway. That's the first thing. Second thing is we need to take reasonable precautions. Our markets have been opened, as I discussed in the first book, Secret Weapon, to naked short selling and credit default swaps and things that are so complex that should never be allowed.
Kevin, do you believe that? I mean, this part of any conversation is so frustrating to me, because I don't think that there's anybody in government or anybody way high up that is going to. They're not going to move. They're not going to move that fast. You'll never get that done. I'm looking at. That's what I would do if I were trying to save the country, but I don't know if enough people are really trying to save the country.
And most of them don't even understand it.
Yeah.
When I've been in Congress, they said, write what you're telling me at an 8th grade level and give it to me.
Right. So then you had step 3, which is stop money printing, which is not going to happen.
We got to get money moving without money printing, which and the way that you would do that is you'd actually reduce regulation. You'd let kids open lemonade stands all the way up. You'd reduce the regulation, and you get people to hire. You'd repeal Obamacare. Those are the things that would do. But I can see your point.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing to.
I'd love this to happen.
It's practical and it's right.
Right.
But it's hard.
Step 4 is achieve
energy independence.
And we could do it. We could do it, and it would be easy. It would be easy.
Yeah, there's a political solution required.
Reduce regulation, which we're going the opposite direction.
That's correct, unfortunately.
Okay. Workable tax code, which
that one's important because we have trillions of dollars in foreign corporations overseas. John Chambers at Cisco says, I'll bring it back tomorrow and start hiring people.
Yeah.
If you will let me bring it back without paying punitive taxes.
Correct. Okay, we have about 2.5 minutes, and I want to focus on steps 7 and 8 real quick.
Okay.
First one is teach America what it's all about.
That's right. And that's what you're doing. And if people grab and see our uniqueness in history and how God established this country and all of the things that make us special, then people will realize that we've got to maintain that special standard.
Okay. And the last one is return to our spiritual roots.
See, in the end, you may be right. Everything could be stripped from us economically. But if our treasure is not in money and not in our monetary system, we will survive, thrive, and come back.
I will tell you that do we have the clip from today's Liberty Treehouse? Real quick, play this. Watch this. I said this about 3 hours ago before we we're going to do the show. An interview.
So what's the next 5-0 of GB's life going to look like?
Much different than this one. This one, I am starting out, or at least this decade, I'm starting out the closest to what I came into this world with, and that is the right attitude. I've got like 5 huge pages of small print of goals for the company, but I have 2 pages of goals just for me, and they're all about be a better man. They're not about money or business or anything else, just be a better friend. In this special, we were talking, and I said, if we lose everything, it's okay, as long as we know who's in charge and that we have each other.
That's right.
And that we know what's important. There's no doubt, is there any doubt in your mind, if we know that, we win?
We not only win, but if we cry out to God, we repent of our hedonism and everything else, and we invite the Holy Spirit to come and move through this earth, we won't only win, we will overcome and be extraordinarily victorious. There'll be a massive revival. It would change the nature and the face of the world.
Talked to somebody from China, and they said people in China are actually praying for America to be humbled. And I said, thank you very much. And they said they see it over there as the only way the United States will regain its footing is to be seriously humbled. And I have a feeling the humbling is about to begin.
We gained the whole world, we lost our soul. What do we have?
What do we have? Nothing. The name of the book is Game Plan. I don't know if you've ever seen Kevin before, but he gets it like so very few get it. Pick it up. It's available everywhere, and we'll have you back on the show again soon. Thank you, sir.
God bless you.